Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 5 of Dirtmasters, the review series where I'm evaluating the pros and cons of each real rally car that's featured on Gran Turismo 6. So in this episode we're featuring what is in some ways a unique rally car on Gran Turismo 6. It's the Citröen Xsara rally car. This is a WRC spec model, but interestingly it's unique even among WRC cars because it's actually an F2 class rally car, which is a front-wheel drive car which was allowed to be much lighter than the all-wheel drive WRC cars of the time. And because of that, this car absolutely dominated the 1999 WRC series. And unfortunately it led to, as they always do, the rules being changed to make cars of its type slower, and so Citroen moved to all-wheel drive in their later Xsara models. But among the rally cars that feature on GT6, this particular one is unique in that it's the only front-wheel drive, fully fledged rally car on Gran Turismo 6. So how does that compare against the other all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive rally cars that feature on the game? Well, let's go to the track and find out. So, as we said, this is a front-wheel drive rally car, and in some circumstances that could be a disadvantage. So how does it perform initially on a tight city track? Well, it actually performs pretty well. The front-wheel drive does mean that coming out of corners you can't put down as much power as some of the other cars, so for acceleration I'm only going to give it a 3. But the low-speed handling is excellent. It's one of the best handling rally cars of its type in the game, so I'm going to give it a strong 5 for low speed handling. And for brakes, I'm going to give it also a strong 5 because they are brilliant, mainly due to the fact that it's got such a little amount of weight to bring to a halt. And for city tracks overall, I'm going to give it a 4 because although it's not as quick as some, the handling and brakes are brilliant. So now let's see how it performs on a twisty country track. Now, one of the really great things about the Xsara rally car is just how user-friendly it is. If you have little to no experience with fast rally driving, I would strongly recommend that you give this car a try because it's significantly cheaper than many of the other WRC cars. It's only 150,000 credits, and it is extremely forgiving, very smooth, and very easy to drive. It has a wide track and a relatively short wheelbase, which makes it have a nice chunky driving style, which is good for tracks like this. Now, for tracks such as this, twisty country tracks, I'm going to give it a strong 5 because it is excellent. It feels really at home on twisty tarmac tracks. Now, for top-end performance, I'm only going to give it a 3 because it's not bad, but it's not amazingly quick either. It's just okay. So that's it for our country track. Now let's see what it handles like on a dirt track. Now, as we've said before in this series, it is really dirt tracks that make or break rally cars. If the car is good here, it will probably sway the majority of players to buy it. If it doesn't perform well here, then most people probably won't be so interested in the car. Now, my hopes for this car were kind of reserved, to be honest, for this track because of that front-wheel drive system. Because although it makes it great for road tracks because it's nimble and very easy to drive, for dirt tracks I had the same worries for this car as I did with the Nissan 240 RS, and that is because it's not all-wheel drive, it would struggle to put its power down. And as you can actually hear from the car, it is redlining a lot, trying to get its power down but just resulting in excess wheel spin. So unfortunately overall for dirt tracks, I'm only going to give it a 3 out of 5. Now, I'm going to give it a 3 because it is still better than the Nissan that we reviewed last time, but it's still quite far off most of the other WRC cars for dirt tracks, or at least for this dirt track. Now, it's by no means a bad car for dirt racing, it just lacks some of the power and lacks the grip for performance primarily on a dirt track. Now, when I say it lacks grip, I don't mean its handling. The handling is excellent. I mean, it lacks the grip to really get all that 430 horsepower down to the dirt. Overall, for dirt tracks, it's certainly not a bad car. It's very beginner friendly, and I would definitely suggest this car if you have little to no experience of dirt racing. It's a great car to introduce yourself to the principles of rally driving. But for a more seasoned rally driver who's looking for something that will win most or all of your rally events, this isn't the car for you. So that's it for our dirt track. Not a great result there for the Citroen. But how will it perform on a snow track? Let's go to Chamonix and find out. So here we are on our final track type, a snow circuit. Now, can the Citroen redeem itself on this type of track compared to its relatively uninspiring performance on a dirt track? Well, I was expecting it, to be honest, to be not very good, because front-wheel drive cars typically suffer from more understeer the faster you get, and that's really what you do not want on a snow track. But actually, it surprised me, happily, and it is very, very good. The front-wheel drive handling actually feels right at home on this type of track, and there is very, very minimal understeer. The handling is excellent. Again, the great thing about this car is it's very, very user-friendly. Getting high-speed corners on this track, or taking corners at high speed on this track, was easy. And for someone who has little or no experience on a snow track, or maybe just isn't confident on a snow track, it's an extremely forgiving and very easy to drive rally car for that track type. So overall for snow tracks, I am going to give it a strong 5 out of 5 because it's really good, and it's no way near as far behind. It is slightly behind some of the newer WRCs, which is to be expected considering it has less power, but it's no way near as far behind the modern WRCs as it was on a dirt track. So that's it for our track testing. Now let's go finally back to the garage for a roundup of the best and worst points for this car. So overall, the Xsara is definitely not a bad rally car. Its weakest point is, unfortunately, dirt tracks, but it does perform brilliantly on road tracks and snow tracks, which does kind of make up for that, really. Now, overall, its best point is just, as we said earlier on in the video, how user-friendly it is. It's a brilliant beginner's car. It's also much more affordable than most of the other rally cars, and it's a very beginner-friendly package. It's cheaper, it's easier to drive, it's much more forgiving, you can throw it around corners, and actually, although I would say its main downside is its lack of power, that also makes it beginner-friendly, because when you have a rally car that has excessive power, you just end up smashing into walls, whereas this car has enough power to teach you the flow of rallying, but not so much that it's difficult to drive. So it's a very beginner-friendly package. Now, I would recommend this car, unsurprisingly, to beginners, people who have maybe less experience or maybe even just less confidence with rally driving. But overall, I would not recommend it for people who are more seasoned rally drivers and who are looking to just set the fastest time on each dirt track. This car will not do that for you, not unless you're up against really slow competition. Against more modern WRCs, it just doesn't have the power. So overall, based on the tabulation of all of its ratings, I'm going to give this car an overall score of 4.2 out of 5, which is pretty respectable considering front-wheel drive and less power. And as always, I'll put the statistics, the ratings and the lap times for this car in the video description so you can compare it to any of the other rally cars in the series. And that's it for this episode, so see you next time, and as always, thanks for watching.